Right. Let's get unplugged. We've just woken up. It's about to be a pretty big day. It's currently 8:30 a.m. Let's get straight into it, guys. Hello guys, good morning. Welcome to this new video. This video is going to be something different besides the other videos that I'm doing. In this video, we're going to be doing the Andrew Huberman's daily routine. Okay, I have my notes listed out. I have everything listed and pointed out, ready to explain, ready to do for you. Sorry that I look like this. Sorry that I look kind of like sluggish. I just woke up actually to make this video look as on point as possible. Now, you just saw me woke up and get straight to the kitchen. Why are we here? The first thing that we will do is, and by the way, I'm using my notes here, is we're going to be hydrating ourselves. In the meantime, we're not going to be using our phones. And that is just my notes, and we're not going to be using our phones for the first hour of waking in terms of scrolling on social media, email, Slack, WhatsApp, client work, or any social media scrolling, okay? Now, we want to do this because we have the no-go and the go pathways in our brain, as Andrew says, and we really want to trigger and activate those no-go centers in our brain that are responsible for controlling, making us aware, and making us control about the sources of dopamine that we're going to be indulging into. So, starting our day with limiting ourselves, indulging in something that our subconscious wants to do reflexively is going to set us up for success.
For the first hour of every day, no phone. Right, so we have circuitry in the brain related to the so-called basal ganglia, and we have goes, so activating, think gas pedal, and then there's a lot of no-go circuitry. And learning how to keep that no-go, don't circuitry, as we could call it, tuned up is very important. And so many times throughout the day, but I try and get 25 a day where I actively refrain from doing something that I impulsively want to do. Could be looking at my phone, but it could even be something trivial.
Now, after that we got that sorted out, let's hydrate. We need to be hydrating. I do this every day anyways, but Andrew Huberman hydrates with some sea salt or some element, any high in mineral drink first thing in the morning, because that's really, really crucially important for our adrenals start firing up, for our brain's function, for our metabolism, for our immune function. We're going to be using Celtic sea salt because that is super high and charged in minerals, so that will help the neurons function better because they use sodium in order to send chemical signals to each other. So yeah, let's do that. We have our sea salt here. And I like to use glass and avoid plastic as much as possible. So let's fill this up. I'll usually drink 2 of these. So now let's do the chemistry here. Here we go. Now we got our cup of water and we're gonna be charging that with high in minerals sea salt. We're just gonna be using a bit more than a pinch. It is especially critical for the first hour in the morning to get hydrated with fully charged in minerals water, okay? We're gonna be doing that, making sure that it's dissolved. Now, it usually takes about less than a minute, to be honest. So yeah, just swirl it around, make sure that it's dissolved and nice, and then bottoms up.
I am a fan of water with element. Yep. Before I had element packets, I would just take a little bit of sea salt.
That is salty. Let's get to the next thing. What we're gonna be doing now is, first of all, shave that mess. And now that we look a bit more acceptable, let's get on to the next thing, which is get dressed and go outside. And I'll explain to you why in a second. First of all, let's get dressed. Now, what we will be doing is getting outside. This is the most important thing that we will need to do every single day. After getting dressed, after hydrating, we need to get our eyes exposed to natural daylight. In the meantime, we will also do some type of activity. I usually do either walking or running or jump rope, but it does not matter what I do, it matters what Dr. Huberman does. So today we're gonna be compounding jump rope with sunlight exposure to our eyes. Now, why is sunlight exposure really important? Because as you probably know by now, if you've been following me and Dr. Huberman for a while, he talks about this enlarge. We have some cells in our eyes, the ganglion cells that send signals to the hypothalamus to trigger the circadian clock and therefore optimize that as well. So the point of it is to send signals to your brain to tell you what time of the day it is in order to calibrate your hormone secretion, which is your cortisol and melatonin. Now, the most important thing in order for us to wake up in the morning is cortisol production. The production of cortisol gets triggered by sunlight, by bright light, and this is what we're doing right now. And let's compound it with some cardio, which is going to be jump rope. So we're going to be getting outside as we are right now and getting our eyes exposed to sunlight while at the same time inducing another trigger for cortisol production and energy and wakefulness, which is some type of exercise, some cardiovascular activity, which is jump rope. So let's get straight into it.
Make sure that your highest levels of cortisol are first thing in the morning when you wake up. One way or another, every 24 hours, you will get an increase in cortisol. That increase in cortisol is there to wake you up and to make you alert. It's to stimulate movement from being asleep to getting up and starting to move about your day. The best way to stimulate that increase in cortisol at the appropriate time is that very soon after waking, within 30 minutes or so after waking, get outside, view some sunlight. No sunglasses, never look at any light so bright that it could damage your eyes, because in the early part of the day, you have the opportunity to time that cortisol release to the early part of the day. This has been backed by peer-reviewed studies. It will improve your focus, it will improve your energy levels, and it will improve your learning throughout the day. It will also prevent a late shift in cortisol increase.
That was it, guys. 20 minutes of that workout. I don't know if you can see, but 20 minutes. Burn about 200 calories. Now, in front of the sun, right here, primarily I was right there, but since it was sunny and I want to compound sunlight exposure to my eyes, no sunglasses, otherwise you're blunting the effect of your melanopsin cells, sending the signals to the hypothalamus, and it's going to take 10-15 times longer. So the thing that we did right here is going to be calibrating our circadian clocks for the rest of the day, and going to be letting our bodies know when to shoot the hormones for sleepiness and when to shoot the hormones for wakefulness by leveraging the main cue, which is cortisol. And for that cortisol, the main cues are exercise, sunlight exposure to the eyes, and what we're gonna do now is cold exposure. Yay! So essentially, this is another really strong cue for our body to trigger that healthy cortisol pulse that we need in the morning for immune function, energy, wakefulness, focus, our brain to function properly, all the good stuff that we want to have in the morning. Cold exposure is one thing that if we deliberately do cold exposure in the morning hours, not ideally after training. So if I were to do a hard workout, that would not be ideal because it kind of blunts the recovery aspect of things. But since we only did like cardio, light cardio, zone 2, zone 3 cardio, jump rope, it is perfectly fine to combine it with cold exposure. So during cold exposure, our adrenals fire up. Adrenaline obviously starts firing up in our brain and body. And one of the most profound benefits of cold exposure is the dopamine reward we get afterwards, okay? So essentially, our dopamine levels will rise 250% above baseline and will also stay raised for the next hour. This is not something that you get instantly, it leaves your body instantly. You get this feeling throughout the day. So not only will we feel awakened and energized and focused afterwards, this is going to be remaining for the majority of the day. So it also drains your lymphatic system, so it forces your sewage system in your body to drain and remove the toxins out of your body. What else do we have? We have improved brain function. We also have thermogenesis, which also activates some brown fat cells, which are rich in mitochondria. And the general purpose of one of the purposes of you doing deliberate cold exposure while wanting to, you're gonna see what I will do in a few moments, but wanting to persist the cold is going to be making us resilient under high adrenaline circumstances and under situations of extreme stress. So this is why people like the Navy SEALs do it, this is why trained professionals do it, and this is why we're going to be doing it as well. One of the reasons, because there are many, many benefits. It also turns on your defense mechanisms of your cells. Yeah, I don't want to ramble for too long. Let's dive straight into it. It's going to suck, but it never gets better. I'm also going to put a timer. The thing with Dr. Andrew is that he advises for you to do cold exposure for about 3 to 4 minutes. However, he doesn't advise for us to do daily because you're going to be slowly depleting your dopamine stores, and if you want to get the dopamine benefit afterwards, it would be wise if you were to be doing it intermittently, okay? So what we're gonna be doing, what I'm doing, based on what Dr. Andrew Huberman says, is I do it sporadically 2 to 3 times a week, and I up the time because I want to get a total of 15 to 20 minutes of cold exposure. So I usually do 8 minutes. So let's see how this goes.
Stress improves cognitive performance. And one of the best ways to do that, because it's so surefire and it's generally safe, provided you do it safely, is deliberate cold exposure. Deliberate cold exposure can be achieved by getting into a cold shower for 1 to 5 minutes. We know that getting into cold water or under cold water greatly increases epinephrine levels and dopamine levels in the brain and blood. There's a beautiful study that was published in the European Journal of Physiology that showed that the increases in dopamine are massive, near doubling or more of dopamine levels that are very long lasting for hours. And epinephrine and indeed cortisol levels are also increased, and in ways that support not just immune system function and mood, but that can really improve concentration and focus.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're done. That was 8 minutes. Never gets nicer, never gets better. It always sucks, but the benefits are insane. As I said, activation of the brown fat cells, which are rich in mitochondria to induce thermogenesis, dopamine elevation 2.5 times above baseline. You're draining the lymphatic system, you're feeling amazing afterwards. Also increasing blood circulation to the brain and body. Recovery is also boosted. Many benefits. I need to get dried and get out of the shower because I might die from hypothermia. So catch you on the next one. You must be wondering right now, why is this guy shirtless? Let me explain to you. So it is 9:05 right now currently, and what we're gonna be doing is meditating. Why am I shirtless, however? You see this thing right at the back there is my red light therapy panel. So essentially, we're gonna be using meditation to calm our minds down, to increase focus and alertness, and increase our mindfulness. Be more present, and not be as overreactive, be more resilient pretty much. This is what we're going to be using that for. We're going to be doing meditation like monks to get that resilience, to become more focused on the present and more focused on the tasks at hand to help us increase our performance. And also the red light therapy, I'm going to be explaining to you in a second. Let's first of all get situated back there. So the red light therapy panel, when our skins and our naked skins are exposed to red lights and near infrared lights, because this one is red light and infrared light, this gets absorbed by our skin's mitochondria, which makes our mitochondria more efficient, produce more ATP, which is the energy fuel of our cells, and in order for our cells to be able to conduct all of their metabolic processes and generate energy. Yes, so it helps with scarring, it helps with healthy skin, it helps with hair growth, it helps with collagen density, it helps with bone density and recovery. The studies are quite new, but the few studies that are there and a few high quality studies that Dr. Andrew Huberman has cited as well show very promising things about this thing right here. So we're gonna be killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. Essentially, we're gonna be doing our meditation practice, which is gonna be lasting for about 20 minutes. That helps us get more resilient and get more of our focus out the day. And also, while we're doing our meditation, why not sit in front of our red light therapy panel? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So let's get straight into it.
For most people, a meditation practice is going to involve stopping, meaning getting out of motion, sitting or lying down, and in most cases, closing one's eyes. When we do that, meaning when we sit or lie down and close our eyes, as trivial as that shift might sound to you, it actually is a profound shift in the way that your brain and other neural circuits in your body function. For the following reason. When we close our eyes, we shut down a major avenue of what's called exteroception. What do I mean by exteroception? Well, very briefly, we are sensing things on our body and in our body all the time. We are also sensing things from outside of us all the time. So these can be sights or sounds, touch on our body, sensations with inside our body, etc.
So we're done with cold shower, we're done with our morning habits, we're done with the meditation practice and the red light therapy. Now it is time. Almost 70 to 80 minutes are passed from all this thing. So it's time to prep our supplements and to consume our first coffee of the day. To consume caffeine pretty much. What we are doing with our caffeine consumption, we are delaying that first coffee of the day for 90 minutes after waking. Now, we're doing this for multiple reasons. The main reason is to avoid the caffeine crash, the energy slump that you feel midday. How this works is that essentially we have that molecule in our brain that gets accumulated the longer that we are staying awake for, and that molecule is adenosine. So adenosine pretty much is a molecule that caffeine goes into your brain. The molecule caffeine goes and binds into the parking spots that adenosine parks as well, and exerts its various functions, which is to make us feel tired and like sleepy. And this, as I said, that molecule gets accumulated in your brain the longer that we're awake for. So normally, if we're awake for 15 hours, we're gonna be really tired. So if we ingest caffeine at that time, we're not gonna be tired because caffeine binds to the adenosine receptors and prevents adenosine from exerting its functions. What will happen if you do what most people do and wake up and go straight for the cup of coffee right in the morning? So naturally, when you wake up in the morning, you have really low levels of adenosine, and you want the adenosine system to be cleared out naturally within the first 1.5 hours. What you're doing, if you actually straight out of the bat block those adenosine receptors, less amounts of adenosine later in the day are going to be exerting more effects. So essentially, lower amounts of adenosine are going to be making you feel more tired, and this is going to be making you want to drink more coffee because you're going to be crashing, and this is going to be detrimental for your sleep quality, which is something that we definitely don't want to have.
Delay your caffeine intake to 90 to 120 minutes after waking up. Many people wake up in the morning, they drink caffeine within 10, 20, 30, sometimes within 2 minutes of waking, and they feel more alert. Naturally, that makes sense because of the effects of caffeine in blocking the effects of adenosine and its effects on other neurotransmitter systems. But then what they find is that in the early afternoon, in particular after lunch, they experience a dramatic dip in their overall levels of energy, the so-called afternoon crash. And in most cases, the way they respond to that is to ingest more caffeine, which indeed can increase their levels of mood and alertness. However, there is a problem with ingesting caffeine in the afternoon, and that is the caffeine ingested in the afternoon for most everybody disrupts the architecture and quality of their nighttime sleep. And I should say that it doesn't necessarily impact their ability to fall asleep and maybe even sleep through the night, but that the depth and quality of that sleep is disrupted by consuming caffeine in the afternoon.
So I will not drink coffee today. I do drink coffee most of the days, but today I will not drink coffee. I will take a supplement which contains caffeine. Let me show you my supplement stack for the day. So my morning supplement stack, it's 1.5 hours after I wake up, and I do drink the following. I do drink 3 capsules of a complete mushroom complex, which contain lion's mane, quadriceps, chaga, turkey tail, shiitake, maitake. I'm probably butchering those pronunciations, but yeah, to give you an idea. I'm taking alpha GPC, 2 capsules of alpha GPC, which contains choline, which helps us produce acetylcholine, which is a neurochemical that increases our focus and alertness and feelings of well-being. And then I do take my capsules, quite a lot of them to be honest with you, but I do take 6 of those, looking like this right here. These contain 200 milligrams of caffeine. Let me read the other ones because I don't really remember what is in them. We have L-carnitine, L-tyrosine, ashwagandha, acetylcholine, L-theanine, ginkgo. We have Panax noted ginseng. We have Spanish sage extract, magnesium, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, niacin. We have quite a few substances that will increase our focus, alertness, energy, mood, cognition, enhance everything. The whole stack here is a nootropic stack, so that helps with cognition and mental performance. And we also have NMN. Now this is B-nicotinamide mononucleotide. I am butchering all of them. So B-nicotinamide mononucleotide, I am probably butchering that, but essentially this is more for overall health and longevity and immune function, NMN. And I also, with that, am taking resveratrol in form powder. So yeah, we're gonna be downing all of them down the hatch, and then after that we're gonna be jumping straight into the deep focused works of the day. You might have been wondering, isn't this guy gonna be eating breakfast? And as you know, as Dr. Andrew Huberman does, we are going to be including fasting in our day as well. So essentially, before us getting into the deep work, into working pretty much, I would like to explain to you why are we actually fasting. Okay, so essentially we want to take the benefits of us being productive in the first few hours of the day and making sure that we are getting to those deep work sessions that I will explain to you in a while. But we're going to be fasting, we're going to be delaying that first meal of the day for at least 4 to 5 hours. And so I wake up at 8:30. I should have my first meal of the day around 2, around there, but I'm not. And I'm doing 1 meal a day, so I have my first meal of the day at around 6, 7. That's not what you should do. The only actual thing that you should do is delay that breakfast for 3 to 4 or 5 hours. This is enough to get the benefits. So you will find out that within those 4 or 5 hours, you're going to be able to conduct the highest quality work and you will going to be the most productive. And this is mostly because you're high on adrenaline, noradrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, all of those systems. Your body is actually using weak cells, old cells, and misfolded proteins as fuel. So you're kind of detoxing at the same time while increasing your mental performance. You're staying awake, you're staying sharp. You're not diverting blood into your gut to digest food, and therefore you have a more mentally clear head in order to be able to conduct and be high quality work and be more focused.
Intermittent fasting has a lot of different potential benefits. But one of the things that you hear very often is that some people like being fasted because they like the clarity of mind that it provides. Here's the situation. Neurons, unless you're in a ketogenic diet, really thrive on glucose. They love glucose. Your ability to think and perceive things is actually enhanced by having sufficient glucose in your bloodstream. So why would it be that some people experience a heightened state of mental clarity when they are fasted? I've certainly experienced that before. Well, I should say that provided you're well hydrated enough and you have enough electrolytes in your system, what tends to happen is that when you ingest food, there's a shift in your nervous system towards so-called parasympathetic mode. That is the more relaxed, you probably heard it as rest and digest, although it does other things, a more relaxed mode that can indeed make us very sleepy. If we have too many carbohydrates, it actually can make us quite sleepy. However, if we have any food, if we have enough of it, that is, if our gut is full, it diverts blood to our gut and we become sleepy and we can't focus as well. So a lot of people really like fasting in the state of being fasted for focus and concentration because they don't have as much of that parasympathetic activation. They're just not as sleepy.
So we're going to be doing that, taking our nootropics. We're going to be drinking a bit of olive oil just to make the resveratrol get absorbed easier. So we're going to be having like 10 grams of olive oil, not enough to break our fast, especially after having kickstarted our metabolism with the cold exposure, with jump rope that we did beforehand. It's not enough to break the fast, so it is just enough to help the resveratrol get absorbed into our system, because otherwise it's just useless. We're just going to be peeing it out. Let's do that and let's jump straight into work. Another thing that is going to be conducive to us hitting that, maximizing our focus, is going to be the type of music that we're going to be listening to in the background, which, as studies have shown, is a binaural type of beat of 40 hertz with headphones and noise cancelling headphones like these ones. Having that type of noise playing in the background is going to be the most conducive to hitting that maximum focus. So the cues are posture, keep your heads high, keep your posture alert and high, keep our environment as bright as possible with the use of ring lights, really effective. Time our working blocks like this. This helps with productivity, and when we have something tangible like this one right here, it helps us stay focused. And yeah, that's about it. So let's get straight into it. Let's start work and let's see what happens.
From the time you wake up in the morning until about 6 or 7 or 8, sometimes 9 hours later, your brain is in a unique state. It is in a state of high levels of dopamine, a neuromodulator, and high levels of epinephrine, as well as hormones like cortisol and so forth. They set your brain into a state of high alertness. But that early part of the day is a time of day in which, for sake of workspace optimization, being in a brightly lit environment can lend itself to optimal work throughout the day, not just during that early phase. It's important to light your daytime environment as brightly as you safely can. So if you are going to be doing work in this early, what I call phase 1 portion of your day, you want to have as much light and indeed as much overhead light shining on you as safely possible. But it's very clear that binaural beats of 40 hertz can shift the brain into a heightened state of focus and cognition. So if you're going to use binaural beats, which should definitely be used with headphones, and there are a number of free apps out there and sources, It turns out that your posture, literally the position of your body relative to gravity, also has important implications for how alert you are. So ideally, you would be standing or seated. I would say the ideal would be standing, second best would be seated, and your screen will be either directly in front of you or slightly above you, or if you wanted to get really fancy, you could create a situation where it was above you and slightly tilted toward you so that you actually had to maintain kind of proper neck posture. This accomplishes a number of things. In addition to making you more alert, you also get away from the so-called text neck. People are starting to look more like C's nowadays because we're constantly looking down. So this is another feature that you can arrange into your physical workspace. Try and get that screen elevated. Now, with reference to posture, there are beautiful data illustrating that when we are standing up, those same neurons in our brainstem, locus ceruleus neurons, which release, I should mention, things like norepinephrine and epinephrine, those neurons become active when we are standing. They become even more active when we are ambulatory, when we are moving. But when you sit, they become a little less active. And when you lie down, and indeed anytime that you start to get your feet up above your waist or your head tilted back, those neurons fire less, and neurons in your brain that are involved in calming and indeed putting you to sleep start increasing their level of firing.
Now it is currently 2:33 p.m. and I'm currently outside on a walk, 10-minute walk. Now today is Wednesday and it is my off day from the gym. So I work fairly more than the usual day. So on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I usually go to the gym at around 2 or at the time that I'm right now. Like right now would be going to the gym, but you shouldn't be seated. You shouldn't be adhering to a sedentary day, a sedentary lifestyle. So in order for us to mitigate that issue is go outside, go for a walk, stay active as much as possible for the day. So because Wednesday and Sunday are my off days, besides doing the amount of cardio that I do in the morning, I also try to be more active throughout the day. I work fairly more than the other days, but that does not mean that it is my only chance to do 2 hours of more work. We still have to stay active. We still have to keep our bodies, our kinetic chain, our posture healthy. So the best way to do that is by going outside for a walk. Going for walks outside, as Dr. Huberman has said lots of times, is lowering the activity of our amygdala, which is the anxiety stress center of our brains. So that is also a good mechanism to keep us contained, keep us creative and lower stress while still getting more sunlight in the eyes, even though it's a kind of the circadian dead zone right now, like post-afternoon. It's not really late evening, but it's afternoon. So yeah, getting that brief walk in is going to be helping us getting more sunlight, being more active, maintaining brain function because the blood flow, the blood circulation to the brain is increased, and that's that. So I'm gonna finish my walk and gonna continue with the work, because I still haven't got my meal in. It's, as I said, close to 3 p.m. I did 2 work blocks. In between the work blocks, I did some rest, so I did go for another 10-minute walk, but I figured this is one I will record. So yeah, catch you in a bit. It is currently about 6:30 p.m. Since the last clip, we've done about 2 extra working sessions of 90 minutes. In total of today, we've done 4 90-minute blocks, and that is around 6 hours of deep, well, as deep as it gets, because every cycle we kind of lose focus naturally. So yeah, from the last clip, again, I did those 90-minute sessions, decompressed in between, because it's really important for us to decompress between your work sessions. We cannot go ham without decompressing. It is as important as compressing, as focusing, because we need to get wedged back into those 90-minute training rhythms for maximum focus. And what am I doing outside again? Well, as I said, I need to stay active, and right now it is one of the most crucial times of the day in which we have to get that sunlight in. So as Dr. Huberman says, and have said many times, when the sun is at a lower solar angle, like this one right here, this is what I'm watching, this is what I have in front of me. So the sun is in a low solar angle, right? This is the sunset. When the sun is setting, it is really important for us to view it. And why is it important for us? Because when the sun is in low solar angle, it's that those wavelengths that get emitted from the sunlight, being in a low solar angle, and that is sunrise and sunset, send the strongest signals to our optic nerves, to the circadian clock, to the hypothalamus, to the master circadian clock, to start calibrating hormones again. Essentially, in simple words, those 2 times of the day is when our eyes tell our body what time of the day it is. So right now, viewing the sunset will set your melatonin pathways for the night and will pretty much tell your body, hey, it's evening, we need to start winding down, we need to start producing melatonin slowly. So it is like a cue, an external cue, a strong one. And also, viewing the sunset, viewing the setting sun, like this one right here, will set your melatonin pathways. So viewing bright light at night, getting exposed to bright lights, because in today's day and age, we are always exposed to artificial lighting, even we like it or not. So it will make viewing bright lights, artificial lights, less detrimental to our melatonin production and thus to our sleep.
Getting some sunlight in your eyes for, again, maybe 5 or 10, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how much cloud cover there is. Doing that in the afternoon serves an additional beneficial purpose, which is you protect or you inoculate your nervous system against some of the negative effects of bright artificial light or even dim artificial light in the nighttime hours between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. But as the sun starts to descend, it triggers those same neurons in your eye that communicate with your circadian clock, but it communicates with a different component or different compartment within the circadian clock. That circadian clock is not just one thing, it's multiple things. And you have what are called morning oscillators and evening oscillators. And to make a long story short, the tool that I'm describing of looking at the sun in the late afternoon and evening signals to that clock that it's evening time and that sleep is coming. It also serves as a second anchor or reference point for your body and your brain to know where it is in time.
I'm doing that right now. I'm going for a brief 10-20 minute walk, because viewing 10 to 20 minutes that sunlight, that evening sun, is really gonna do the job, gonna do the trick. So yeah, I'm gonna do that for the next 10 to 20 minutes, gonna do the trick, and then after that we're gonna go inside and cook us some food, because I haven't eaten yet. It's gonna be my first meal of the day. Yes, because I'm starving. It's gonna be a pretty big and hectic meal, because I'm eating 3,000 calories as of now to reach my physique composition goal. So I'll show you that meal. That's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be mostly natural and unprocessed, but yeah, I'm gonna get with my sunlight in, gonna do the walk, and after that, let's eat some food. So this is what we're gonna be eating. We're gonna be drinking kefir. We have some 2 rump steaks, ground beef, about 450 grams of ground beef, and then about 200 grams of rump steak. And then we have my favorite thing of the day, some Greek cheese. I think that's goat cheese. And we have some barley, tomato, and soft Greek cheese as well. This is called Detox in Greek. This is roughly about 2,600 calories. I might eat some fruit afterwards, depending on how I feel. Most likely will, because I need to get to that 3,000 calories. It's gonna be a big meal. And after that, we have the thing that we have afterwards, probably gonna be winding down. So catch you after that meal. We are 1 hour prior to bedtime. I'm pretty tired. So essentially this situation here, this starts from 3 hours before bed. So after the sun sets at around 7, at around 8, we start dimming the environment down. I start closing the ring light. I start shutting it down, and I start dimming the lights down. This is really important, because as you will see by the clips that I will put on, our ganglion cells, our melanopsin cells in the eyes, are getting triggered because they primarily sense bright overhead lights. Now, why am I looking like something out of Star Trek? Because I am working on my computer. Still back there, I had a consultation call. So when I'm working that late and in front of my screens, I am wearing the blue light blockers. Right now, not a big need to wear the blue light blockers, because the environment is conducive to optimal melatonin secretion anyways. So yeah, we don't want to be lighting our environments up with bright overhead lights such as this one. We want to be dimming the lights down. We want to be not only using firelight colors like this one, but we want to be dimming the environment as well. So not to trigger those cells and not to inhibit melatonin secretion.
Once the sun goes down, you would be wise to try and dim the lights in your indoor environment. And ideally, the lights that you do use, you would place low in that physical environment. So you would try and not use overhead lights, but rather rely on desk lamps or lights even placed low to the floor, even on the floor. If you are going to use light at night, and most people do, I would encourage you to use as little artificial light as is required to carry out the activities you need to require safely. Try and avoid using overhead artificial lights. The absolute worst lights are going to be overhead fluorescent lights of the sort that you would have in the supermarket. To be very direct and succinct about this, avoid exposure to UVB light from artificial sources between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. I can't emphasize this enough, that if you view UVB light, you activate those neurons in your eye very potently. And if those cells communicate to the perihabenular nucleus, which they do, you will truncate or reduce the amount of dopamine that you release. So if you want to keep your mood elevated, get a lot of light, UVB light throughout the day, and at night, really be cautious about getting UVB exposure from artificial sources.
Now, another thing that we want to be doing 1 hour prior to bedtime is a warm shower, because the warm shower will help us cool down and will help us drop body temperature, core temperature, and therefore get into deeper and higher quality sleep.
Taking a nice hot bath or a sauna, you might think would heat up your body, and indeed that's what happens if you stay in a very long time. But if you do hot tub or a hot bath or a sauna in the evening and you don't stay in for more than 20 or 30 minutes and you get out, you take maybe a cool-ish shower or a warm shower, then what happens is there's a compensatory cooling off of your core body temperature, and your body temperature will drop by 1 to 3 degrees, and it will make it much easier to get into sleep.
And also, I have my sleep supplement stack. As Dr. Huberman, magnesium, apigenin, and L-theanine. So let's analyze that as well. We need to open some dim lights because I cannot show you here what I have going on. So yeah, this is our supplement stack here. We have this, I'm right about to put the water. So we have some mountain herbs. I just drank this with some chamomile tea, apigenin, and some extra anti-inflammatory effects of the mountain herbs. And we have some magnesium bisglycinate. We have, this is a mixture of Panax, not ginseng, lemon balm, saffron, many agents that are calming you down. We also have ashwagandha in here. We have L-theanine. So the main stack that Mr. Huberman has is magnesium bisglycinate, L-theanine, and apigenin. So we're including all that stuff. We're also including vitamin C with zinc to make sure that our hormones are functioning optimally. And this is the supplement stack that we will be using 1 hour prior to bedtime.
There are supplements that for most people will greatly improve their ability to fall and stay asleep. And the 3 main supplements in that category or that kit of sleep supplements are magnesium threonate, apigenin, and theanine. A couple of notes about dosages. Taking 145 milligrams of magnesium threonate can be very beneficial, 50 milligrams of apigenin, and 100 to 400 milligrams of theanine, many people find allows them to get really drowsy and fall asleep, sleep really deeply, and they feel much more refreshed the next day and they don't have a grogginess. The ideal time to take those is 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime, especially if you haven't had anything to eat for the 3 hours or so before bedtime. Now,
after that, I will go and take a warm shower, and then after that, I go and get into bedtime. And another thing that we will do when it's time to go to bed is a meditation practice that's called Yoga Nidra. Okay? Now, Yoga Nidra is a type of meditation in which you're doing a full body scan and you are actually helping your body activate the parasympathetic nervous system and activate more of the GABA pathways. So you're pretty much turning the parasympathetic system of the brain on and turning the sympathetic system, and you're stopping the thinking, planning, and overreactiveness, and you're going into a in-between time and space with your brain and body, and it helps you get into deep quality sleep. So we have our sleep stack. We will do the warm shower for the reasons that you now know. We will do the Yoga Nidra laying in the bed, and then after that I'll explain what our sleep environment looks like in a second. Now here we are in the bedroom after Yoga Nidra. The next most important things that we need to set is sleeping environment. So sleeping environment means basic things: temperature, lights, and noises. So for temperature, we need to make sure that our room temperature is as cool as possible. 67 degrees, the cooler the better. We need to make sure that we don't wake up during the night because of heat. We most usually wake up due to heat rather than cold.
You should try and make your sleeping environment pretty cool, if not cold. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be cold while you're asleep. You can get under as many blankets as you need, but it's a good idea to make your sleeping environment cool. In fact, drop the temperature in that sleeping environment by at least 3 degrees, and you'll be happy that you did.
For lights, I'm actually wearing, it is quite dark, but I'm actually wearing this as an insurance.
Do eye masks improve your ability to stay asleep? And indeed, they do, provided they are not too tight and provided that the room is cool enough. Why? Well, eye masks cover the upper half of your face, which is where glabrous skin is localized. So a lot of people who wear eye masks will wake up because they're too warm if the room is too warm. So if you're going to use an eye mask to keep light out, definitely make sure the room and your sleeping environment and your bed are cool enough in order for you to stay asleep.
For noise, I'm plugging my ears. Let me show you with some really basic earplugs like this one right here. Really basic ones. It is quiet, but just an insurance. We don't want to have sleep disturbances during the night. And also for for optimal oxygen flow, I am taping my mouth shut every night with medical tape. This prevents me from being a mouth breather and therefore disrupting the oxygen, because the quality of the oxygen that you're breathing from your mouth is much less optimal, because pressure is more optimized when you're breathing from your nose, and therefore is more bioavailable, and you're getting more restful sleep when you're breathing from your nose as well. Now, when you're actually going to breathe from your mouth when you're sleeping, it is very possible that you're going to be entering sleep apnea states and hypoxia states, and therefore disrupt your sleep quality. So we don't want to have that, because that is going to be ending in us feeling groggy the next day due to not having optimal sleeping quality.
All people can sleep much better if they train themselves to be nose breathers while they sleep. It's a great idea. It's a superb idea to be a nose breather in sleep. And one way to really get good at that is to take a little bit of medical tape and to tape your mouth shut before going to sleep. You heard me right. Put some medical tape over your mouth and force yourself to nose breathe during sleep. It also prevents snoring in most cases, really offsets sleep apnea.
To be honest with you, Dr. Huberman's daily routine is not much different than mine. I do practically the same things every day. Not to the T, but it is really close. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys took some value and see the actual things and why does Dr. Andrew Huberman advises you to do such things and do such practices and adhere to such protocols in your daily routine, and therefore you can take some gems and apply them to your routine as well and see how they work for you. Other than that, I'm pretty tired and ready to fall asleep right now. Cannot wait to see you on the next one. Peace and good night.